And the philosophy is equality. Okay? So just to sum up the whole thing, okay, he is discussing equality, and Srimlu says that the Gita accepts many types of equalities. It's very wide, not narrow at all. So there is a tamasic equality in which you very weakly and in a resigned manner you accept the limitations of the physical world, and yet you want to have nothing to do with them, you withdraw. So that's an equality, tamasic equality. Rajasic equality, the difficulty that you come to you challenge them and you try to master them. Okay? So that is the Rajasic equality, not Tamasic. Tamasic is you accept, but in Rajasic you don't accept. You fight and win against them. I don't want to be subject to these outer forces coming into me and controlling me. So you conquer them. That's a Rajasic. The Sattvic is in the principle of harmony and light and understanding and knowledge. You try to remain aloof from all the difficulties and try to tolerate as much as you can the difficulties that come to you from the physical world. Bahya sparsha, the ones that come to you from outside. Sometimes they can hurt you, sometimes they can make you happy. Both of them you have to be immune to them. So that is the sattvic equality. But all these are not the real equality. The real equality is very much the spiritual equality. That which comes when you go to the self. You lose your identification with body, mind, life, and you go to the self, the consciousness is seated outside the body, and you get absolutely immune to everything from the physical world. Nothing touches you. Mhm. Now, I'll read the para that we have to read. And the philosopher's equality is like the Stoics, like the world fleeing ascetic, inwardly a lonely freedom, remote and aloof from men. Okay? So there is an equality of the philosopher, they like the Stoics, world fleeing. Okay? You don't have anything to do with the physical world, inwardly a lonely freedom. Note the word lonely freedom. In other words, you are not in a cosmic consciousness. In the cosmic consciousness, it's not a lonely freedom. It's a freedom along with everybody else. You are, everybody else is there in you, and that's not a lonely freedom. So, lonely freedom. Otherwise, you will understand why he is using the word lonely. Lonely freedom, you yourself feel yourself to be free, but you are not identified with everybody else, as in the cosmic consciousness. Okay? Remote and aloof from men. There you are. If you are aloof from men, you can't identify yourself with them. Therefore, the spiritual cosmic consciousness is not possible in the philosopher's equality. Now, but the man born to the divine birth has found the divine not only in himself but in all beings. Now the equality and freedom is not lonely. It is identified with everybody else. There's a cosmic consciousness. Okay? He has realized his unity with all, and his equality is therefore full of sympathy and oneness. Whereas in the other one, where you see the physical world as unreal, you are free yourself. But there is no identification of suffering with others. There is no sympathy. You are just aloof from everybody else. He is united with all, and his equality is therefore full of sympathy and oneness. Naturally, that is far superior. So, in other words, there is another equality also. So, you have a tamasic equality, you have a rajasic equality, you have a sattvic equality, and a spiritual equality, and now it's a cosmic consciousness equality. Even in the spiritual world, there are two types of equality. So, this is what Shalini said. He sees all as himself, and is not intent on his only salvation. So, like Buddha, like Vivekananda, like Sri Aurobindo, he wants liberation for everybody. Okay? He had mentioned that in the synthesis of yoga. Okay? That Buddha took a vow never to go into nirvana permanently unless everybody also is liberated. So that is the highest noble gesture that spiritual man can have. Okay? He sees all as himself and is not intent on his lonely salvation. He even takes upon himself the burden of their happiness and sorrow, by which he is not himself affected or subjected. This also we have discussed. When you are in the cosmic consciousness, the exhilaration of the tiger and the fear and despair of the deer also is experienced by the man who is in a cosmic consciousness. You experience the sorrow of others as your own. But there also we have discussed that there are three stages in that sort of cosmic consciousness. First of all, you are affected. Okay? You are affected by the other's sorrow. Second one, you are not affected, but you sympathize with them. And the third one, you have also the capacity to solve their grief. Okay? So that also is there. He even takes upon himself the burden of their happiness and sorrow, by which he is not himself affected or subjected. This is what an integral yoga guru does. This is what Mother used to do. So MD used to tell everybody, surrender yourself to the Mother and let her do the sadhana in you. She will identify yourself with the sadhak. She will identify herself with the sadhak and know his problem. And now his problem is her problem. And she has the capacity to solve it. So that's what she will do. Okay, so the perfect sage, the Gita more than once repeats, is ever engaged in the large equality, in doing good to all creatures, and makes that his occupation and delight. Sarva bhuta hite rata. He is always engaged in doing good to others. The perfect yogin is no solitary, musing on the self in his ivory tower of spiritual isolation. This is the liberation of the ascetic. The ascetic is not worried about the world at all. Okay? He just wants his own individual liberation. So that's the difference. But the perfect yogin is very much concerned with the world and its suffering. I'm reading that sentence again. The perfect yogin is no solitary musing on the self in his ivory tower of spiritual isolation. Gotchandra has used the word lonely freedom. Okay? But the perfect yogin is not interested in lonely freedom. He is interested in the freedom of everybody else also. But yukta karma, krishna karma krishna. Okay? Yukta, he is joined with the all the work. He is doing all the work in the physical world. Krishna karma krishna. He is the one who does all karma, Krishna. Krishna means full, total, many. A many-sided universal worker for the good of the world, for God in the world. For he is a bhakta, a lover and a devotee of the divine, as well as a sage and a yogin. A lover who loves God wherever he finds him and who finds him everywhere. God wherever he finds him and who finds him everywhere. In other words, he sees God in everybody and naturally he is concerned. And what he loves, he does not disdain to serve, nor does action carry him away from the bliss of union. Since all his acts proceed from the one in him and to the one in all, they are directed. When you are doing something for others, you are doing it for the divine in the others. Okay? That's what Mr. Andrews says also in one of his letters. When you are helping somebody, Even when you are in ignorance and someone comes to you and you are helping them, and this applies to all the doctors also. So when you are treating a patient, treat the patient as though you are doing it for the divine in him. So that's what they will say in one of the letters. Nor does, and what he loves, he does not disdain to serve. Nor does action carry him away from the bliss of union, since all his acts proceed from the one in him and to the one in all they are directed. The equality of the Gita is a large synthetic equality in which all is lifted up into the integrality of the divine being and the divine nature. It's not only the divine Purusha, okay? It's also the divine nature. We are concerned with the divine nature at the lower level. So that completes the chapter on equality. And you must know that equality is one of the kingpins of any yoga. Any yoga, they have to get in touch with equality. They have to come in contact with equality. Now we can go to the 20th chapter, equality and knowledge, how they interact with each other. Okay. So we can start reading the chapter. So who will read today? I see today. Pallavi, would you like to read? Or Tarika is also suggesting that she can read. Okay, Tarika, you can read.
Let Tarika read. Yes.
Okay, Tarika, read. If you have the text.
Yoga and knowledge are, in this early part of the Gita's teaching, the two wings of the soul's ascent. By yoga is meant union through divine works done without desire, with equality of soul to all things and all men. As a sacrifice to the Supreme, while knowledge is that on which this desirelessness, this equality, this power of sacrifice is founded. The two wings indeed assist each other's flight, acting together, yet with a subtle alternation of mutual aid, like the two eyes in a man which see together because they see alternately. They increase one another mutually by interchange of substance. As the works grow more and more desireless, equal-minded, sacrificial in spirit, the knowledge increases. With the increase of the knowledge, the soul becomes firmer in the desireless, sacrificial equality of its works. The sacrifice of knowledge, says the Gita, therefore, is greater than any material sacrifice. Even if thou art the greatest doer of sin beyond all sinners, thou shalt cross over all the crookedness of evil in the ship of knowledge. There is nothing in the world equal in purity to knowledge. By knowledge, desire and its firstborn child, sin, are destroyed. The liberated man is able to do works as a sacrifice because he is freed from attachment through his mind, heart, and spirit, being firmly founded in self-knowledge. Gata sangasya muktasya jnana vashishta chetasaha. All his work disappears completely as soon as done, suffers laya, as one might say, in the being of the Brahman, praviliyate. It has no reactionary consequence on the soul of the apparent doer. The work is done by the Lord through his nature. It is no longer personal to the human instrument. The work itself becomes but power of the nature and substance of the being of the Brahman.
Yeah. Okay, so now he goes on, now he is going to take the equality and knowledge. Both have to increase each other. The more knowledge you have, naturally your equality will be more, and the more equal you become, knowledge also becomes increases. So that's obvious. And he's using a very interesting image. A bird which has got two wings. And one wing is equal and one wing knowledge. Okay, so equality and knowledge. Yoga and knowledge are, in this early part of the Gita's teaching, the two wings of the soul's ascent. Okay? So, by yoga, he is defining what yoga is. Okay? By yoga is meant union through divine works done without desire. Okay? So you do the works. The other yogas are saying, don't do any work, because it will give you attachment and desire. But you are saying, the Gita says you have to continue to do the work without desire. Yoga is meant union through divine works done without desire, with equality of soul to all things and all men, as a sacrifice to the Supreme, while knowledge is that on which this desirelessness, this equality, this power of sacrifice is founded. So, he has defined both what is meant by yoga and what is meant by knowledge. Yoga is very clear, union with the divine by doing works, okay? Particularly karma yoga. Then knowledge is what now Sindri is saying as a sacrifice yoga. Where is that knowledge? Okay. As a sacrifice to Supreme, while knowledge is that on which this desirelessness, this equality, this power of sacrifice is founded. The more knowledge you have, the more desireless you will become, and the more equal you will become, and then your power of sacrifice is founded. The power of sacrifice, remembering the divine all the time, and giving, offering your whatever you are doing to him. That's the power of sacrifice. The two wings indeed assist each other's flight, acting together, yet with a subtle alternation of mutual aid, like the two eyes in a man, which see together because they see alternately, they increase one another mutually by interchange of substance. So, the interchange of substance is very interesting. Your consciousness has substance, and the substance of yoga would be the divine substance, because you have become union with him, na? And the knowledge is your own substance, and the two have to mix. That is meant by yoga and knowledge helping each other. The divine substance and the human substance are mixing and helping each other in the soul. The two wings indeed assist each other's flight, acting together, yet with a subtle alternation of mutual aid, like the two eyes in a man, which see together because they see alternatively. By the way, we get perspective and depth, the three-dimensional effect, when two eyes are there. If only one eye is working, then that perspective also disappears, and also that effect of three-dimension may not be there. Okay. They help each other. They increase one another mutually by interchange of substance. I'm reading the next sentence. As the works grow, more and more desireless, equal-minded, sacrificial in spirit. So note carefully that even in desirelessness and equality, there are gradations. Okay? There. More you become desireless, equality increases, and the more equality increases, you become desireless, and your sacrificial attempt becomes much better. Constantly you remember the divine. Okay? Not only remember, but offer. Okay? That's very important. Naturally, when you have to offer, you have to remember. So remembrance is the first step. That's why Srimati used to always say, remember and offer, remember and offer, remember and offer. That is the formula for those who are still in level 1. Okay, so as works grow more and more desireless, equal-minded, sacrificial in spirit, the knowledge increases. With the increase of the knowledge, the soul becomes firmer in the desireless sacrificial equality of its works. Whatever you are doing, you do it for the Lord. All of them are They help each other. Knowledge helps equality, equality helps knowledge, and remembrance also increases, and remembrance also makes possible the offering with the divine. So all these are all interrelated. The sacrifice of knowledge, says the Gita, therefore, is greater than any material sacrifice. Material sacrifice, you offer money or you offer so many. When you go upstairs, you will see people used to offer so many things, ivory items, okay, beautiful um, artifacts, okay, vases, and things from Japan and China. All these things are kept in the cupboards there. People used to offer all sorts of things. So Gita is saying those offerings are okay, but the offering of knowledge, that's the greatest. The sacrifice of knowledge, says the Gita, therefore, is greater than any material sacrifice. Even if thou art the greatest doer of sin, beyond all sinners, thou shalt cross over all the crookedness of evil in the ship of knowledge. It's again an image. Okay, so
Ranganath, how can we offer knowledge?
how can we?
Offer the knowledge, like
Ah,
it is easier to offer works, but how to offer knowledge?
okay. When you are making an effort, okay, I'll give you a very simple example. Okay, I'll give you a very simple example. Suppose you are reading a text. Okay, I read the Ramayana, others may read some other text also. When you are reading Srimad also, okay, you won't understand a particular passage. Okay, then you ask the divine for help, and suddenly, if you are open, you will get the help. Then you have knowledge. The knowledge is increased, and then you offer that in gratitude to the divine. So you are offering your knowledge back to him. He gives it to you, and you give it back to him with gratitude. So every time you get a little more knowledge, you acknowledge the help of the divine and say, you don't need to say thank you in words, but that should be the attitude, gratitude. Okay? You can offer. Whenever your knowledge increases something, remember and offer. I know your question is a very good one because knowledge is something so abstract. How do you offer that? You can offer it when you get the knowledge. Okay? When something suddenly opens in you and you understand something which you never understood before, your knowledge is increased. So offer
Ranganath,
it. Pardon?
can I add something?
Your voice is very weak. I can't.
Can I add something?
Yes, yes.
I was just thinking that the by knowledge in Gita is not the mental knowledge alone. It is the
Spiritual
perception of
knowledge.
it
It's
is the
spiritual knowledge.
gradual,
Yes.
yeah, gradual perception of the truth of reality. The
Yeah.
truth. So that can be offered. Every
Yeah.
time there is.
No. Gita, what you're saying is correct. But even in the physical world, I'll
Yes,
give you a
yes.
very simple example. Okay. You don't know, you go to a bank, you don't know the exact process. Okay. I'll give you a very simple practical example. You go to the bank and they say things which you can't understand. Then you ask for help and say, I don't understand what they are saying, but please help me. And if you are open, I guarantee you will get the answer. It comes. Then you offer that. So it's a very practical knowledge also. You can offer everything. Practical knowledge, your spiritual knowledge, even your mental knowledge. Everything you can offer. But of course, what you're saying is right. Vidya, when you speak of Vidya and knowledge, it is spiritual knowledge mostly. Okay? But the Tarika's question was a very interesting one. She said, how to offer knowledge? So, when you get the knowledge, offer it. Then it becomes easy to understand what I'm saying.
Rangada,
Yes, Suki, tell me.
yeah, I think the remember and offer, you said, remember and offer, in that
Yeah.
part, the remembering part is the knowledge you said. I think that's the great example of sacrifice of knowledge.
Yes,
Remembering. So we just do
yes,
work without remembering. The work
yes,
goes, the work is not yoga. So, but
yes,
by remembering, the work becomes the yoga. So remember and offer. I think that's the great example of
yes.
sacrifice of knowledge, right?
Quite right. Quite right.
Mm-mm.
This offering of knowledge is very much related to remember and offer. Remember and offer. Okay?
But remember
In
and offer
gratitude.
can be uh, no, remember and offer can be your practical work also. That is everything. But knowledge, particularly, that was my question. Remember and offer, yes, you can remember and offer, or your work also, your everything. But particularly knowledge, when he is saying, I didn't know how to offer
Yeah.
knowledge.
Anyway, I have explained to the best of my ability.
Yeah, it is very clear, Rangada. When you gave the example, it's very clear.
Okay, okay. So if it has helped, that's good. Okay. Because as you keep going, your knowledge also starts increasing. Na? So that you offer immediately. So good. I know I had the same question myself. How do you offer? Even your thoughts, the question was in me, how do I offer a thought? It's easy to offer something material. Okay? But how do you offer an emotion? How do you offer a knowledge? How do you offer a thought? In the same way, whenever it comes, you acknowledge that it has been given by him and offer it by gratitude. Okay, so, all right. I go to the next sentence. Even if thou art the greatest doer of sin beyond all sinners, thou shalt cross over all the crookedness of evil in the ship of knowledge. There is nothing in the world equal in purity to knowledge. So, knowledge is the one that purifies. The Gita's words are very interesting. Jnane jnana deepena bhasvata. Jnana deepena bhasvata. The one knowledge by its light purifies. Okay? Light is the greatest purification. Because when light comes in, darkness disappears. So that is, knowledge is light. Okay? It becomes a lighted thing, and then your evil also disappears. That's what the Gita is saying. There is nothing in the world equal in purity to knowledge. These are um, on the fourth chapter, verse 36 and 38. Okay? Verse 36 and 38. So, yeah, that's right. Api chedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakrittama. You are the greatest of sinners. Papakrittama. Sarvam jnanam vrijinam. I've written very badly, so I can't. But this is 36. The 36th sloka and the 38th sloka. So there, the 38th one is very clear. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate. Nothing is equal to the purification by vidya. Nahi jnanena sadrisham pavitramiha vidyate. Nothing is more purifying than knowledge. Then the second part of the verse, Tat Swayam Yoga Samsiddhim Kalena Vindati. Kalena Atmani Vindati. Tat Swayam Yoga Samsiddhi Kalena Atmani Vindati. You, in time, in good time, when the maturity comes by itself, the this yoga samsiddhi, by the knowledge comes within yourself. Atmani Vindati, you find it. That's what he said.
Rangana,
Yes,
Rangana, this
yes.
knowledge you talk of is knowledge of the self, no?
The self gets knowledge.
Pardon? The knowledge of yourself, because as it is, knowledge can increase crimes and sins, no? As you get more and more knowledge, in this world we see more and more crimes happening, but this knowledge is actually related to self. No?
When you say self, you must be very clear that the knowledge comes in the self means at level 2, in the spiritual planes of consciousness. Not yourself in the sense of your body, mind, life. When you say yourself, at our level, yourself is the body, mind, life. But the
Yes.
Gita is talking of the self, Atmani, in the in Sanskrit, very clear. Okay? Atmani, in the soul,
That's
in the self.
in the soul. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. I go to the next sentence. The liberated man is able to do works as a sacrifice because he is freed from attachment through his mind, heart, and spirit, being firmly founded in self-knowledge. Gata sangasya muktasya jnanavasthya chetasa. Gata sangasya. The attachments are all gone. The union with your desires. Okay, Gata Sangasya. Sangha is attachment, union, unity with the desire. That is gone. Muktasya. Jnana vasya chetasa. Jnana vasthita. You are situated. You are firmly established in knowledge. That's what he said. And same is translated. All his work disappears completely as soon as done, suffers laya. Laya means disappearance. Okay? As one might say, in the being of the Brahman, praviliyate. Praviliyate dissolves and disappears, just like sugar in milk or salt in water. Okay, so praviliyate just dissolves all the consequences of your own actions. It has no reactionary consequence on the soul of the apparent doer. So, this is very interesting. When you are identified with your body, mind, life, the action is taking place in the body, mind, life, and you are attached to it. Therefore, there is suffering. But the moment you are outside your body, mind, life, there is no attachment to the body, mind, life. Body, mind, life continues to suffer, but your soul is not suffering. It becomes a witness. It just looks on top and sees and is not affected at all. It's actually a physical separation. The soul comes out of your body, mind, life. Okay? The work is done by the Lord because He does the work through His nature. It is no longer personal to the human instrument. You have surrendered yourself to the Lord fully and He is doing the work through you. But this, of course, is not a very low level. It's a very, very high spiritual level. When you become a perfect instrument of the divine. Normally, you become an instrument in a very imperfect manner. Partly it's your own contribution, partly it's the contribution of the divine. That's the middle stage. The last stage is when you become perfectly equal and immobile, and the divine is working through you perfectly. Obviously, that can come only at a very, very late stage of development. Okay. The work is done by the Lord through His nature. It is no longer personal to the human instrument. The human instrument, body, mind, life. Okay. The work itself becomes but power of the nature and substance of the being of the Brahman. The work itself becomes but power of the nature and substance of the being of the Brahman. Your nature becomes para prakriti, not the lower nature. So that's what he's saying. We have only 5 minutes left. So how big is the next paragraph? We can read it. Yeah, it's about a page. We can read. Okay. And we'll discuss it next time. So, Pallavi, would you like to read?
Yes, Rangada.
Go ahead, read it. It is in this sense.
It is in this sense that Gita is speaking when it says that all the totality of work finds its completion, culmination, end in knowledge. Sarvam karma kilam jnana
Parisamapyate.
parisamattate.
Yeah.
Sorry. I lost the page 1 minute. I'm putting on the
Okay, take your time.
1 minute. Yes.
Got it?
No, Rangada, 1 minute. Or someone else
Okay.
can read because I'm on the phone and I can't get it.
Oh, acha. Okay. If anybody else has got the text, they can finish it. Who has got?
Shall I read, Rangada?
You have got the text?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead. Kiran, read it.
Okay.
As a fire kindles.
As a fire kindled turns to ashes its fuel, so the fire of knowledge turns all works to ashes. By this, it is not at all meant that when knowledge is complete, there is cessation from works. What is meant is made clear by the Gita when it says that he who has destroyed all doubt by knowledge and has by yoga given up all works and is in possession of the self is not bound by his works. Yoga sanyasta karmanam at, atma आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि निबन् निबन्धन्ति
Nibadhananti.
निबन्धन्ति योगसन्न्यस्तकर्मणम् आत्मवन्तं न कर्माणि निबन्धन्ति and that he whose self has become the self of all existences acts and yet is not affected by his works is not caught in them receives from them no soul ensnaring reaction Kurvana apina lipyate. Therefore, it says the yoga of works is better than the physical renunciation of works because while sannyasa is difficult for embodied beings who must do works as long as they are in the body, yoga of works is entirely sufficient and it rapidly and easily brings the soul to Brahman that yoga of works is we have seen the offering of all action to the Lord which induces as its culmination an inner and not an outer a spiritual and a physical giving up of works into the Brahman into the being of the Lord Brahmani Adhyaya Karmani Mai Sanyasaha. When works are thus reposed on the Brahman, the personality of the instrumental doer ceases. Though he acts, he does nothing, for he has given up not only the fruits of his works, but the works themselves, and the doing of them to the Lord. The divine then takes the burden of works from him. The supreme becomes the doer and the act and the result.
Okay, so we have only 1 minute left, so we can't do this today. But then we will take it up next time and do it. Okay, so Sarvam karmakilam jnane parisamaप्यते. Okay, so sanyasya karmanam atmavantam na karmani nibadhnanti. One who is doing works, the works do not bind him down. That's what he said. Kurvannapi na lipyate. Even while doing works, he is not bound by his works because there is no desire. It is desire that binds you down. Then, and the condition is Brahmani adhaya, placing yourself, reposing yourself fully in the Brahman, Mai sanyasya. Brahmani adhaya karmani, Mai sanyasya. So, giving up everything to the Lord, then do the works. That is what it is said. Okay. We'll take this para up next time. We'll redo it. Okay, everybody.
Bonjour, Rangada.
Have a nice evening.